Hello, hello, all friends of the Cloud Show. It is time for yet another episode of the show where today we're going to talk about a really, really important topic and with an actual customer case to back that up. The topic for today is in integration, or moving a lot of legacy to the cloud and then making sure you figure out all the integration stuff with modernized integration services. In this case, we're going to talk a lot about Azure integration services specifically. And the expert, the star of the Cloud Show tonight, is Steef-Jan Wiggers. Well, hello there.
Hello there.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Welcome to the Cloud Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So before we dive into this very important integration topic and the special, very cool customer case that you have to share with us about today, let's check out first who is Steef-Jan. Who are you?
Well, I'm Steef-Jan Wiggers. I'm from the Netherlands. So I was born almost a long time ago.
Almost a long time ago.
55 years ago, in the Netherlands. I've been active in the IT industry for, I think, roughly 25 years. And predominantly it was always doing integration stuff. So tying systems together all the way back to mainframes, IBM. Then client server came along, and then web services. And then, of course, in 2010, we got the cloud. So, I've done a lot of things with integration in those 25 years, I would say, along with raising a family and all that stuff. So, that was cool.
All that good stuff. Yeah. So, and you also like to run, right?
That's true. Yeah. When I became an MVP, I met some MVP friends that are into running, and then I figured, well, might as well do some running as well. And one of my MVP friends said, hey, why don't you tag along in the Berlin Marathon? That was in 2013. So I signed up and got hooked, and have been running since, I think, 12 years. It keeps me fit. Yeah.
Well, that's good. It's really good and healthy, and so we can literally say that the Azure, the Microsoft MVP program takes you very far, as you have been running very, very far. Fun stuff. All right. Yeah. Well, so and you've been MVP for quite a few years, right?
Yeah, I was nominated in 2010, and I got the title in 2010 as well. So I think it's now 15 years now, being in that program.
Nice. Just a few more than myself. Very good. Yeah. All right, super duper. So we can safely say that you know how to connect stuff.
You definitely can tell me that I definitely connect stuff. That's true.
That's true. And so you have worked on a big customer case. That's where correct. You had a bunch of legacy you needed to move, and you needed to figure out all the integration architecture for this.
That's true. Yeah, that was a migration of what they call an on-premise broker program, similar to BizTalk Server, IBM WebSphere, Oracle Cloud SOA Suite. Those back in the big message brokers back in the day on-prem. And guess what? Those brokers, they all went into the cloud, similar to this particular broker that wasn't supported, and there was no really roadmap. So they also wanted to have that legacy, similar to what I say to those other brokers like BizTalk, move to the cloud, and basically have the same functionality in the cloud, and also the ability to expand on having something in the cloud for their future features, like intelligent fridges, supporting multi-channel. So this retailer, it's not just a brick and mortar store anymore. It also does Uber Eats, right? That platform economy, doing online, of course, so online shopping and delivery, but also things like a food club. So also providing, let's say, lunches and stuff. So they're really expanding, and also that platform needs to be catered for that type of stuff as well. So there was like two things in one: migration, but also having a new platform in the cloud that does that.
Right. Yeah. So and this is a published customer case. I believe I have a link to put on the screen for reading that. This is a published customer case, so we can talk specifically about the size and context here. This was Spa Netherlands.
Yeah, Spar Netherlands. So that's a part of Spar globally. So they're active in 47 countries. Well, and I did it, of course, for the Netherlands. So each of the SPAR entities, I would say globally, but they're predominantly active in the Nordics, where you live yourself, Europe, Eastern Europe, but also the south of Africa and such. And then, yeah, the Netherlands is its own entity, and that's where we kind of built that solution for. And that's also where you see the show link for. So that references to what we've done in the Netherlands, migrating from that on-prem broker to something that's in the cloud. And as you can guess, it was Azure Integration Services that we predominantly used.
Right. So brilliant. So we know that this was a big, I'm not, it sounds like I'm judging things when I'm saying mess, but it's old, right? So it's a lot of integrated stuff, and a lot of that was done a long time ago. It's now with aging technology, you need to you need to go to new versions, and you need to go to a new platform and all the things. So very, very big and hairy ball of mess, if you will, right?
Yeah, but the tech became stale and not supported, and it was kind of bulky. It was kind of a big broker, while with building things in the cloud, you have more like these Lego pieces, so you can build your solution, you can see what's fit for purpose, but that gives you a lot of flexibility as well. So we kind of chunked it up in smaller pieces, almost like microservices type of architecture, where you have some part that would be receiving information, and you have some parts that do some transformation to, you would say, a canonical or business model. From there, you could map it to your target system, and then you have something that sends it to the target system. So it's pretty distributed, but also very flexible, using event grid-like storage, logic apps, and functions, basically.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the target architecture there. You said Azure Integration Services. What the heck are those, right?
Well, Azure Integration Services is kind of an umbrella term, because holistically, or you could say, okay, it's part of this is logic apps, and that's your workflow. You got like messaging capabilities, so that would be your service bus, which is a long-time service in Azure, but also Azure Event Grid. Then you got Azure Data Factory. It's under that umbrella as well, but it's more data related, for bulk batch data related. We didn't use that particular service. And you got Azure Functions. So those are kind of your ways of hosting code in the cloud, and it could be in a container, it could be just in a hosting plan, depending on what you choose. Those are kind of your integration services as Microsoft deems them. While Azure integration itself is nothing, but it's just an umbrella term for all these technologies that are available. So
right, it's not a service. There are services for integration in Azure. That's what we mean when we say Azure Integration Services.
That's correct. Yes.
All right, cool. So the Azure Integration Services, or the services that do integration, did you also use API management in this solution?
True. Yes. API. By the way, API management is also part of Azure Integration Service. I sometimes forget, but even that part is part of the integration service as well. And when you communicate with external parties, then you do want to have some kind of broker between your services and the outside world, because of protection. Maybe you don't want to have your services called all the time, so it brings you a lot of quality of services capabilities right in there through policies. So that was one of the components we use as well when integrating with external systems. For instance, when you're doing the platform economy like Uber Eats, right? They have their own API, and they have another set of services for it, supporting you in a way that your order comes in, is being fulfilled, and then the transaction is basically what you pay for. So that kind of is your traffic going back and forth between those APIs. So that's where API management has its role in that architecture.
Right. Yeah, I would assume so. And this is because this acts like a proxy in between your compute code, like your function app or whatever it is that ultimately receives the request. But that proxy itself can add a lot of capabilities to any service that is able to listen, right? You can call a logic app as well, right? You can call
you can call a logic app. We predominantly use functions as well, which you can set, which you can also, as with an HTTP binding, then basically through that proxy make it available to the outside world with the appropriate set of security measures security measures like OAuth, and then underneath you're using managed identity and stuff. Another way would be also using VNet or isolation, and that stuff is something we didn't use because when you're in retail, it's high volume, low margin. So making a use case for that type of isolation is pretty hard, and it becomes complex and expensive as well. So
Makes sense. Makes sense. But essentially you can get stuff like throttling, you can get stuff like monitoring and access control and all kinds of things through
True,
the API.
and then it's support with the OAuth, so you get your claim, which you can verify against Azure Active Directory, which is now, I think, Entra. So
So before this call, I think you mentioned something called New Way, like a broker or something.
Yeah, the New Way was basically, the New Way broker was something that was originally what the broker was called at this retailer, but it's similar to, you would say, BizTalk server.
Okay, so it was similar to that, right? So you had that older system, and you needed to move to use Azure integration services instead. So how do you set something like that up? How do you do that? I mean, it seems like a complicated
Well, we had to set the foundation or fundament first, right? So how you set up with subscriptions. So you have your dev test and you have your production subscription, then it's naming conventions, how you set up your DevOps. So we use Azure DevOps. So that would be the planning, but also the wiki, the repos, the packaging, testing. So everything that came out of the box there. And once that, and then we also decided on deployment using Bicep instead of ARM, which is, of course, Bicep is the language on top of ARM, but we decided on those things. So basically set out the land, set out the foundation, and then we started onboarding several processes. One being their distribution of master data for articles, and similar to pricing, shelf plans, etc. But we started small with articles first, and then we slowly migrated all the interfaces from New Way onto that new platform, using that a paradigm I use with the chunking up the different parts, right? So it's a claim check pattern. So you get your workload inside a storage account, then it sends out a signal through Event Grid saying to a function, hey, there's something for you to do, like transformation, and then you push that workload to another storage account. Then again, you get your event to another function. Okay, hey, I need to send it out, or hey, I need to do something else.
So
and
so this part is really interesting. I don't know. I believe that most people don't necessarily know what event-driven architectures are and what Event Grid really does. You were saying that you for example, you want to process something, you put the file in the storage, and then all of a sudden an event happens. Tell me what that's about.
Yeah, basically it's you got your service bus, which is you place a message that is like a push, and then you pull it from, and then you do whatever you need to do. With Event Grid, you also push, in this case, an event, and then straight away that gets pushed to whatever the receiver is, so the subscriber in this case.
Right.
That's similar to your BizTalk architecture, where you have your message box where you publish a message, and then instantly subscribers pick up that message and continue. Now, this event-driven approach or capability is also harnessed inside Event Grid. So you push out your events to a central, what's called a topic, and then you have one or multiple subscribers picking up that event and then do whatever.
Right.
So in this case, when you say, hey, there's a workload in that event, it also has this URL of the actual workload itself. So you download that workload, you do processing in your function, and then you place that information into another container, and then you push out the event to signaling into another subscribing, in this case, processor, which is a function, and then you continue. And this event-driven way is more efficient than you pushing messages out and then pulling all the time. So it's just push, which
it is
lower latency. It just gives you more as well.
So somebody sends you data, for example, through the API, and you take that data, you listen to you receive incoming request in, let's say, a function. You receive the data. Okay, I have some data. Cool. I'll put that in a storage file somewhere. And that's all I had to do. I don't know anything else, right?
No,
I don't know if anyone is interested, right?
True, you're right, because they don't necessarily have to be subscribers. Back in the day with BizTalk, there had to be. That's why you get this message like no subscriber found, error. But in this case, you don't. It's in that storage. Then, of course, it will send out an event through what's called a system topic, but that's kind of basically the technology under the hood. Pushing it out to whoever
the storage I'm configured to send out an event when this happens. I received a file, woohoo!
Yeah.
And then maybe someone is listening, right? Maybe another process is interested in the fact that this data had come in, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's how how it's working in some of our use cases. When transactions are being sent through our API management, they're stored actually in a storage account. Then a function gets the event, or subscribes to the event, validates the data, and then push it into the data platform. So the data platform at this retailer is completely isolated from the world, from the outside world, because we, as an integration platform, are around that data platform, and then you got your API management around that one. So basically, we act as a DMZ type of thing for the data platform. So the data platform only does like analyze data, store data, self-service BI, etc. And we're responsible also for ingesting and pushing out data to whoever wants to have that data.
That's really means that this communication layer, as you described it now, is really the end all be all of the communication that happens, right? There's nothing else going on. You can send in a message, you can receive data, but that's it. You can request data, I guess, would be the
whole. I would, if you use a metaphor, we just are transporters of data. The whole platform is catered for transporting data.
Yep.
From A to
which
B,
means
or from B to A.
Yeah, right. And which means then that you're able to protect, like you said, the sensitive business data inside of this circle.
Yeah, there was another benefit of setting up this platform, and also at the retailer helped them realize that transportation of data was our responsibility, while processing data and whatever you want to do with data is a data platform data, but also they're not operational while we were operational. So we had to be up 24/7 while the data platform is not. So
right. So operationally there, you managed the team that did this integration work, right? That was your team.
Yeah, I basically did the process from end to end. So the whole thing from the start with interviewing what the customer actually needed, the whole migration to the cloud, leading the team, building up the complete solution, also the monitoring capabilities for the whole integration platform, all the way up to the transition to support, which is now another party. So yeah, it was a job from A to Z, just the whole thing, end to end.
Yeah. And so you went live with this system already. This is running.
Yeah, it started as soon as we did the articles, that master data management. I think after 6 or 7 months, we went operational live with that. And then along the way, in those months and subsequently, I would say a year and a half, all the other flows came on that platform as well. And additionally, we also supported new use cases like that Uber Eats, right? The platform economy, intelligent fridges, retail media. So there were other features also built next to our migration path. So now I think 3 years later, we handed it over to support. So basically that whole platform is now fully operational and live, and can be expanded, whatever other features will come in the future. But predominantly I would say 90% of all the process and everything runs through that system, and it's live and operational and without any type of issues at all.
That's really, really cool. And in general, we're talking about a few core Azure services that are modern and up to date that you could just take and build this communications practive and structural layer around.
Yeah, true. Because API management is 10 years old. I think Logic App is having that way. Azure Functions already there for so many years.
Bus is pretty old, right?
Yeah, and then you got your service bus messaging, and EventBit is a new one, but even that service I think is out there for a couple of years now. So storage is there. We also using application insights for our monitoring needs. Some Cosmos DB in the background as an event store, signaling out to our incident management system when something goes wrong. So it's all proven technology that's been out there for years.
For a long time, right? So this is no new stuff that you're doing. These are true and hardened technologies that you used to create like a extremely business critical system for the customer. Incredibly fascinating stuff. Listen, we could talk about this, I guess, all night and
Yeah, I
probably
know.
tomorrow as we continue tomorrow. But at some point we need beer or something. I don't know. But anyway, it has been absolutely brilliant
Thank
listening
you.
to your story
Yeah.
about SPAR and all the integration services that you used in this case. Congratulations to a job very
you.
well done. Thank you for
Yeah.
being on the Cloud Show today.
Well, thank you too. And like what you showed out, that link shows more of the details if people are interested, and they can find more about this use case right there. So
brilliant.
yeah.
Well, thank you again for coming
Thank
on the
you.
show, and to the audience, thank you for watching the
Thank
Cloud
you
Show.
also,
And
audience. Yep.
right, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank
Yeah, we
you.
will. Thank you. Bye.